Claire Fishback, welcome back to the Rocky Mountain Writer Podcast.
It's always a pleasure to be here, Mark. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And this time we are talking about a book you have just put out to help all of us writers and wannabe writers.
That is right. It's called You Can, Toucan, Do More in Less Time. It's kind of a little mini book about productivity and, creating a writing habit, getting going with your writing, starting, finishing, all of that great stuff, and using small little scraps of time, because I know we're all busy and it's the perfect method. It teaches the perfect method rather for busy authors.
We are going to dive into all of it. I got to start right at the beginning. The Toucan Idea, nice rhyme with you can, toucan, but do you have something special going on with the toucan?
So back in 2017, I was at the Rocky Mountain or the Colorado Gold Writers Conference put on by Rocky Mountain Fiction Writers, as we all know, with my dear friend L.S. Hawker. And I believe the keynote speaker was Tess Gerritsen, who's amazing. At the end of her speech, she said, "You can too." And I turned to Lisa and I said, "You can too, can." And of course, we giggled raucously because, drinks had been imbibed. And I proceeded to draw a toucan on my program, which I still have the drawing. I think I actually put it on my website, but if not, then there's another way to view it, which we'll talk about later. So that kind of was the start of it. And then from there, the method that I teach in the book was born. And now it's just becoming a whole thing. I have a free email course. Later this year, at the end of this month, actually, I'll have a full-fledged course with video, audio, worksheets, the works. So that's coming too.
Wow.
It's taken off. And this is like just one piece of the puzzle. I have a whole framework of things that I have planned to help authors with especially indie authors like myself, in their indie publishing businesses, writing books, getting them out into the world, that sort of thing.
Wow. So this started out as the vision was more than just a book as well. You had a whole experience in mind.
Well, not really. So it started out as this one book, and then I heard a need for the second and third books that will be coming. So the next one is going to be a project management book, because I am a project manager by day. I have my project management professional credential. I've been doing project management for 10 plus years in my day job. I project manage myself in my writing life with my, indie publishing and all that, with a 40-hour per week day job. So I think I have some tricks and tips there for managing time. And then I also have the third piece is being your own best cheerleader. So it's kind of a defeating or combating the negative self-talk, stuff like self-doubt, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, all that stuff. And then in the entire framework, it's actually called the bird framework. Toucans, birds, it's fun. And the first part of it is build, which is what we're talking about here with the do more in less time. And then the second part is initiate, which is the project management piece. Reassure is the cheerleader piece. And then the last bit is discover. And when you reach the end to the discover phase, you are a fully fledged toucan. You have all the tools you need. You have a repeatable plan that you can use for all of your future books. And I'm so excited to get the whole thing done, but it's like one piece at a time, Claire. So rein it in, don't get ahead of yourself. And so it's all coming. It could be a year or two. Like I said, I have a corporate day job, so I have to work on this, a couple hours every night after staring at my computer all day, which is where we circle back to do more in less time.
That's great. Well, we're going to get into some of the main tips. We won't give everything away, of course, but first I just want to chat about the fact that what this book addresses is a big problem out there. And as much as we see it feels like it's raining books out there. There's just, you go online and just everybody's got a new book, but I'm sure you run into, and I know I run into so many people who just don't know how to fit writing fiction or try to even think about putting a book together with a full-time job. And I've had a full-time job since I walked out of college in 1975. And you can absolutely find time. You can, but
Yes.
would you agree? You've probably talked to lots of people, and you wish you could just sort of slip them a little secret, like, here's how you do it.
Yes.
My heart goes out to those people who don't think they can do it.
Yeah, mine too. And I started telling people about the method that I teach in the book and in the free email course that I have on my website. And they're all like, oh my gosh, this is genius. And they go and try it. And then I hear back from them, and they're just amazed that this super simple, like ridiculously simple method has like saved their time and their energy, and it's motivated them to keep going. An interesting thing is I put a survey out in March to learn the writing habits of writers. Of course, my ulterior motive was, hey, I've got this free resource for you, so check it out. That's full disclosure right there, everybody. I'm all about, being honest and, and all that.
Yeah.
So one of the most interesting things I learned in doing the survey was that 51% of the authors who participated already have a regularly scheduled writing time, which is fantastic. I was like, this is amazing. However, when pressed for more info, like how often do you actually show up at that time, only 33% of them always show up. So that 67% don't always show up. And that was a big deal to me to learn that information, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they've done the work to schedule their time, but they don't always show up. And I even dig a little deeper into why they don't. And of course, life's responsibilities get in the way. And that's okay, especially if it's your kids or your spouse, or, the need to spend time with your friends. Though that's all important, because those are the people in your writing life who are your biggest supporters, hopefully.
Yeah.
So it's important to make sure you take care of them and make time for them and all that. But yeah, I mean, some of the other reasons were, tired, distracted, unmotivated, just plain old procrastination, too much to do. So that's like a piece of the next piece of the puzzle I'm going to bring out is with the project management piece, is if you have too much to do, how to deal with that. So so it was the results were shocking, and also really amazing, because so many writers are in the same camp. It's like, right. I mean, I ended up calling it the "You Are Not Alone" survey results, because so many people, I mean, writers, no matter where they are in their publishing careers, if they're full-time, part-time, just starting, I mean, a lot of the results were same, I know your name,
It is hard. I mean, what we're talking about is a hard thing, unless you move aside the full-time job, which I don't know what percentage of us can't afford to do that. Probably 99% of us can't afford to do that. So what we're talking about here in terms of discussing the solutions, we don't want to suggest it's just a snap to be able to figure this out. No. But there are some sort of, how do you describe it? Is it just a matter of instilling in yourself a little bit more discipline? And I guess I want to couple that question with, what are the project management skills that are needed to be a good project manager? And then what kind of transfers over into that approach to doing art and doing fiction?
Yeah. Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first part was about discipline. And discipline is a key factor here. And also just kind of what I teach in the book and in the free email course, you learn a lot in just that little free course, is about training yourself to show up. I mean, and it's not like you have to schedule it for the same time every day. There's also a piece in the email course called Awareness of Activities, where you look at your day and you look for places where you can fit a small scrap of writing time. And I know a lot of authors who will probably think to themselves, I can't write for a small scrap of time. If I'm going to write, I want to have like hours upon hours to do so. And I used to be the same way. So it took me, The Blood of Seven, my first novel that I published, it took me 12 years to get that from first draft to published. And then its sequel took me 9 months to get from first draft to published using this method that I'm teaching. And I don't know about you, Mark, but that's pretty significant,
Yeah.
in the time frame of getting a book out.
Yeah.
9 months still seems like a long time, I know, especially for those prolific authors who are just cranking out books like every month, but that's how my process works. And we all have our own process. So mine's not special. So, but part of it was doing this method and I did schedule time, but I also looked for it in my day. Like, where else can I fit writing into my day? And it's not like writing is like my higher power that I must cater to it and all of that. Like, if I have a day where I'm just not feeling it, I'll still take a day off. There's no problem with that. I burned out horribly in 2021. August, I wrote so much and I did so much. And at the end, I was like, I'm done. I don't care if I ever write ever again, which ultimately isn't true because it's boiling in my blood. So I must do it. But I ended up taking like 2 months off from writing. And I mean, looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't do that to myself. So there's also a little piece in the book about taking breaks and taking care of yourself, because self-care is super important, especially in this day and age with this pandemic that we've been going through. A lot of people have not felt creative at all during this time, or not written at all during this time. I'm also an artist, so I follow a lot of artists on Instagram, and they've all been struggling. Writer friends that I know have been struggling. And here I was in 2020 with a concussion that I got in January that took the whole year to recover from, writing every single day by hand in a journal. And that's how I got The Doll Room, my second short story collection, out, was just writing by hand, because I wasn't allowed to look at screens while I recovered from a concussion.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in what you said a minute ago about looking for little moments. I think when I first started writing, I thought like I needed a whole morning, and I needed it'd be great if it was raining, and it would be great if the coffee was incredibly hot, and it would be great if all these things were true. And then as we started raising kids and all that, that you just look for those little moments. And why not write down a paragraph if you have 15 minutes to do a little focused thing? That is progress. That is, if something inspires you, go write it down. And so what are your tips to find those moments throughout the day or week?
Yeah. So I mentioned briefly the awareness of activities. So this is something I came up with, and it goes into more details, and there's a worksheet if you go into the free email course. Yes, I'm going to plug that as much as I can. I apologize in advance.
Where do people sign up for that? Where do people sign up?
If you go to youcantoucan.com, you can't miss it. There's a banner at the top. There's a footer at the bottom. That's youcantoucan.com. So awareness of activities is about kind of tracking your time you don't have to do it for a long time. I recommend at least 2 days, 1 weekday and 1 weekend day. So you can see what you're spending your time on, and being incredibly honest with yourself. Like, if you sit down and play on your phone for like an hour, write it down, because that's an hour that you could have been writing. And I will be completely honest, I used to be a Facebook junkie. Like, any chance I got, I'm on my phone, I'm on my computer, in the desktop version, on my tablet, everywhere. Facebook. I loved it. And I have actually been off of Facebook for the most part. I do go on there every once in a while just to check my groups that I belong in. Since October, I haven't been on there consistently since October. last year. So, I mean, you can wean yourself back a little bit, especially if your writing is important. And if you're going to, and I do say this in the book, if you're going to put a time limit on your writing, you should put a time limit on your avoidance behaviors and your your bad habits, or social media, your phone games on your phone, whatever it is that you use to avoid writing, just put a limit on there too.
Yep, definitely. I found also, just for me, and I don't know if you address this in the book, but I liked what you mentioned a minute ago about writing by hand. When you commit to writing by hand, you can just grab a notebook and be anywhere. You're waiting for the doctor to call you in, you're waiting at a bus stop, you're on the bus, when I travel, man, that was great writing time. It's so freaking portable.
Oh yeah.
And if you've got a little computer, that's great. But just being able to not even have to open up the computer and just write a few things down by hand, or make a sketch of somebody across the waiting room and just sort of write down what you see, and you never know what you might use that.
Yeah, like what's their story? My dad and I, when we go to the airport, well, when we used to travel together every once in a while, we would in the airport do a lot of people watching, and we'd like make up stories about, oh, that person, they're in a hurry, here's why. And we would just make up a whole history about where they're going, where they came from, what they're doing, and all that. That's a great exercise too in character development. And then if you do that while you're in the waiting room, like you said, or the airport, on the train, or whatever the case may be, you'll have like a whole bunch of characters that you can just pull from for your next story too. So nothing is wasted if you're writing it down. And the notebook idea is great. I always have a notebook with me, or a post-it note, not a post-it note, but a index card that I fold up and put in my pocket, in the pen.
Nice.
And also, there's so many note-taking apps on phones these days. Scrivener even has a mobile version if you have an iPhone. I mean, you can take your writing project with you everywhere. Right.
So Toucan is really focused. Is it really focused on this issue about finding time, or what else does it dive into?
So it dives into So the course that I'm creating that's based on the book, it has a formula that you follow. The book isn't quite laid out in the same way, but it's the can-do formula. So it's about cultivating awareness of your writing life, or your current writing habits and your lifestyle, activating that time with a custom-made ritual, nixing excuses before they steal your time and energy, diligently showing up time after time. Sometimes I say day after day, but I realized after doing the survey that some people don't write every day, and I certainly don't write every day. So, because breaks are important, like I said. So time after time, diligently showing up, and then overtaking your writing goals, and in the end, obtaining your shiny new or freshly refurbished writing habit. So the book covers all of that. The email course covers a good portion of it at a very high level, but there's worksheets, so that's fun. So the book also has a companion workbook that you can get if you get the book directly through my website. It's not available. The workbook isn't available on Amazon or anything. You can get the book on Amazon, but then you don't get a discount on the workbook.
Right. So you're shipping those out directly from your home?
No, it's all electronic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the book is an ebook.
Gotcha.
The book is ebook only, and then the companion workbook is also electronic. Yeah, but it's in a format where you can print it and write in it, or you can fill it out electronically if that works for you. Yeah.
So, and I want to touch again on something you said, which the whole issue of daily. And yes, you can give yourself a break here and there, but if you're writing, there is something to be said about doing it every day. And I guess part of it is just being able to get in and out of it quickly. If you put it aside too long, you have to spend so much time ramping yourself back up into the world you're creating. And just there is something about the daily feeding of the story that makes so much sense. For, again, 99% of the writers I know, they can't take a week off or 2 weeks off and then hope for a big, long 18-hour writing burst or something. It just doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, there is something to be said about the daily. I agree. And with the method that I teach in the book and in the email course, I recommend doing it daily to begin with, like 30 days, a whole month. Just track it. There's trackers. There's a free tracker that's included in the course. And actually, if you buy the book, there's resources at the end that you can go and download, and it has the tracker in there as well. And because, creating a habit is, they say it's like 27 days. And it depends on if you actually want the habit, I have found, because I did a morning workout that was 100 days. In day one, getting up at 5 a.m. was just as hard as, or day 100 was just as hard as day one.
Yeah.
So I think, if writing is what you really want to do, it's like your calling and you must do it, or else you'll like go crazy. Or, maybe something a little more subtle than crazy.
Yeah. I'm a happier guy. Ask my wife after I've written for the day. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's something that you must do, then you will do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, something I say in the book too is track your entire time for at least one book. I'm talking about writing. I'm talking about revisions, how long it takes you to do like a read through. My process includes like multiple read throughs. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody's does. So yeah. I write the thing, I let it rest for 1 to 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how much time I have in my schedule. And then I will do a read through, mark the high level stuff, look for all my little placeholders that I put in there, try to fill them in and fix them and spruce them up. And then I will I'll export it to my Kindle. So I have a Kindle Paperwhite. So it's like reading it like a real book to me. Right. And I'll read through it that way and highlight and make notes and stuff in my Kindle, which there's not a great way to export that stuff, but right. Going back through it again and the way that I do it, and this is so inefficient, but this is my process, people. This is mine. I have my Kindle open here and I'm just like going through to each highlight and each comment and I'm putting it into my Word document. That's how I do it. Hey. And it could be like 100 comments. It could be 200. I don't care. That's how I do it, because then sometimes while I'm doing that, I'll see a comment here that's later referenced again. And I can be like, oh, okay, I can ignore that one because I actually did mention so-and-so doing XYZ activity. Gotcha. And so, yeah. And after that, then I go back into the Word document where all the Kindle comments are and I fix them all up. Yeah. Anyway, read.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, you want to track how long it takes you to do that. And if you do that for one book, then you'll know, okay, I know this is how long it takes me to do these things, whether by word count or, I mean, when you're reading, obviously it's by page count, like how many pages can I read in an hour, in a day, whatever it is that you spend, however much time you spend on it. And if you do that for the whole process, you'll know exactly how long it takes you to produce a book that's that many words. And then with that information, you can estimate the next book and how long it'll come out. So your adoring fans, you can tell them, hey, the next book will be out on this date or around this date. Yeah. Because that's our adoring fans need to know when the next book is coming.
Yeah, it's also good for just setting goals for yourself too, and putting a little thought in your mind that you now know that you've got about a 4 or 5 month process, maybe, or maybe it's a 12-month process, which is totally fine. Mm-hmm. But then you just kind of know at this time in May of 2023, I'll be wrapping up my next book, and you have a plan, an outline, and there is something to be said for, as a project manager probably knows, plans are good. Plans and setting timelines.
Plans and schedules. And then, having that information too, you'll know, okay, I got to contact my editor and let them know when I'm going to have this draft for them.
Right.
And, booking a cover designer. This is specifically for indie authors, of course, but that's who I relate to, because I am one.
Right. So how are you getting the word out about UCAN Toucan? How are you getting the word out, and how's it going?
Yeah, so I put that survey out. That was a first big phase one kind of launch for this whole thing.
And how did you get the survey out, and how many responses did you get?
Yeah, so I contacted a few Facebook groups. RMFW was one of them. PPWC was another one. Sisters in Crime. I asked permission from the Alliance of Independent Authors, and there's another group called Wide for the Win. That's for independent authors who have their books wide instead of just in KU. Kindle Unlimited.
Kindle Unlimited. Yep.
Yeah, for people who don't know. And I asked permission, of course, because I didn't want to be that guy who's like, I'm just going to post this out here and hope for the best. And they all said, yes, go ahead, go for it. Report back with the results. So I put my survey out, and it was out there for 2 weeks. And I got, within the first day, I got over 100 responses, which my goal was 100.
Wow.
And at the end of the 2 weeks, I had 233 responses. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good turnout there. So definitely. That was super exciting. And then I spent the rest, like a month, basically, because I just put the results out this week, really compiling the results, drilling into the details, putting together a pretty extensive, it's a 19-page communique, I call it, because report is boring. With all the results, it has beautiful graphs. I've gotten a lot of really great feedback from people saying how professional and awesome it is. I am totally tooting my own horn, and I feel like
that's okay. You're helping others, Clary. It's absolutely fine, because you're in this to help others. It's allowed. It's absolutely allowed. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the survey, of course, I had, if you want to know the results, plop your email address in, and you'll also be entered to win a gift card, because that's, standard survey practice.
Sure.
So I emailed all those people who gave me their email address. I gave them I have an infographic. It's like this long. It's like, you can't even see how long it is, because it's really long. It's a pretty cool high level. I have it open on my other screen. That's what I'm looking at. High level version of the results, but the communique really digs really deep into like the who, the what, the why, the how, maybe not the why, but the how, just about every different type of author who responded, just all kinds of different details. And then, if you download the report, you'll get honesty right here. You'll get a sequence of 3 emails. And at the end, I'm going to ask you to sign up for my free course. So another free thing. Yeah. I'm not asking you to send me a bunch of money for it. It's absolutely free. And it will teach you a bunch of the techniques. It will teach you the main technique that the book has in it, first of all. And it will teach you a couple other things to get going on reclaiming your time, upcycling your wasted time into writing sessions. So that's how I'm getting the word out, is the survey, and then really talking about the email course, because that's where the real meat is.
Yeah.
If you want quick wins. And I know that some people will be like, well, I don't have time to write. How am I going to have time to read your whole email sequence or whatever? It has a companion podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
And I think the longest episode of the companion podcast is maybe 4 minutes. So it's like, it ranges from like 2 to 4 minutes. They're super quick to listen to.
How many episodes on that?
It's there's 6 emails. So there's 6 episodes. And then I think at the end of the email, there's one more that goes out a week later. That's like, hey, how's it going? And then, so there's 7 total.
Wow.
Yeah.
So first of all, a quick question on the course. Is that a self-guided course?
It's an email course. So you sign up, you get the first email right away. Make sure you check your junk mail, because it might go there. Yeah. There's no way to make that not happen. So that's always like, when you're doing email stuff, that's always I went to junk.
Yeah.
And then each day you get another email. So it's over the course of 6 days. So each email has an actionable step, something, a little something to download, like a little goodie that you get, worksheets. I love worksheets. They're so fun. So
said the project manager.
I know. What? Me worksheets?
Yeah. So you've got this whole infrastructure, this whole world being built. Obviously, you're managing all the technology behind this too, in terms of
Yeah.
Wow.
So I am. I've been wearing every hat in a business lately. I'm the CEO. I'm the web designer. I built my entire website myself.
Wow.
So if you go on there and you see anything that's not working, please email me and let me know, because it's been a wild ride. This whole first part of this year, since January, I've been working on this. And that doesn't even include writing the book and getting that out.
Right.
Well, it does a little bit. It does the editing and all that. The revision process was in there, but yeah, I mean, all of it. I have, thank goodness for these amazing email service providers that are out there, because they make it really easy to create these automations and sequences and tagging. And I've had to learn so many different things. And it's and
your databases and all that for contacts and
exactly. Plus working, 40 hours a week.
And just to recap, so podcasts, courses, you got the Toucan book is out, but more books on the way. And did you mention those titles? I think you mentioned those earlier.
The project management one doesn't quite have a title yet. It's kind of, the working title is Toucan project manage your writing life, or your book, or your dream. I don't know yet what it's going to be, because I only have like a really high level outline of what I want to cover in it. And I haven't even started really writing that one yet. And then the one for defeating self-doubt and all that is you can be your own best cheerleader. And that one, I have a large chunk of that one written already. Yeah.
Boy, that self-talk is so important, isn't it? Just that building that confidence and calling yourself a writer, whether you're published or not, and just making that commitment, just almost like a pledge to yourself to make that commitment that you're going to do it and you're going to get better at it, whether it's learning a card trick or, playing the flute, whatever it might be, you're going to get better the more you do it, right?
Yeah. It's one of the people I follow, her name is J. Crisp Crow. She's a copywriter. She always says that writing is a doing word. And just like you said, exercising, learning anything new, you have to keep practicing it. That's why during this whole thing, I've still been writing short stories for my fiction newsletter, because I'm like, what if I lose my fiction writing muscle and I come back after I'm done doing all this Toucan stuff and I can't write anymore? So I've been writing short stories for my fiction newsletter to keep that skill, going and keep it strong. But the negative self-talk, I think the first part of kind of combating it, I don't think we could ever defeat it. It's part of our brains trying to protect us. It's who we are. But the first part of it that I've learned over the course of, doing my own self-discovery, and because I used to be a very angry person, and I, through meditation and affirmations, have overcome that. And I overcame, for the most part, anxiety that I had a lot. I had a lot of social anxiety. Going out into the world used to make me so nervous that I just couldn't. I mean, there were times where I just couldn't do it. And I overcame that using meditation and affirmations. So the cheerleader book might have a little bit of woo-woo stuff like that in it, but
it's okay.
It works. It freaking works. Yeah. I mean, and part of it is just recognizing your own thought patterns and your own, and saying, okay, I see you, negative Nancy over there, or Nellie, whoever your negative person is in your head. I
Nick.
see you, but negative Nick. I see you and I hear you, but you're not serving me right now. So ta-ta. It's recognizing the pattern, seeing it, acknowledging it, and then letting it go. I mean, like Elsa in Frozen.
Yeah. You're gonna sing for us now.
Oh yeah, just a little bit.
It's a complete full service podcast in that case. Yeah. Well, great. Is there anything else we need to know about are you going to be presenting Toucan at Colorado Gold this coming fall?
I maybe next year. This year,
Yeah.
I didn't get my proposal in on time because I'm
Yeah.
still kind of working out all the
Yeah.
details of it. But
Yeah.
next year, I'll definitely put in a proposal for it and see if I can get chosen. 'Cause
Yeah.
I would love to teach it at a conference. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, congratulations, Claire. This sounds like a really thoughtful and thorough approach to getting the word out there. It's
Thank you.
Yeah, just putting out a book is one thing. You've really built a little world
An ecosystem.
for us. An ecosystem. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Claire, thank you so much for your time today, and we wish you all the best with all your endeavors. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here and to catch up and chat with you.